Hi guys, it's Nancy here and I'm back with another process video for you. And this layout I set out to do something a little bit different because I knew that I wanted to frame this layout. I have a couple of frames that I want to put up in my room, and so I had a couple of photos from my recent road trip with my boyfriend, and I really liked the photos, so I decided I wanted to make some layouts to kind of just display those on. And I also decided to challenge myself a little bit because I wanted to use a plain background. You'll all know I have a love-hate kind of relationship with white cardstock. It bores me. I see people do like beautiful layouts with white backgrounds, and it just doesn't do anything for me. And said that's not because I'm not saying I don't like other people's layouts to do it. It just doesn't really work for me. I like bold and bright and colourful. So I decided that I want to do something a little bit different for me here. I'm not going to be using my trimmer. I'm going to kind of be using my ruler and kind of ripping edges and making things look a little bit distressed here. Probably should have ripped this paper before I put my photo on, but never mind. But again, you can fuss around forever getting like the perfect rip. And so I'm going to be using kind of a mixture of bits and pieces for this layout. I'm going to be using that inspired Project Life pad. This is the 6x6 one. Again, there's lots of quotes and stuff in there. And I decided I wanted to kind of try and use some of those up. There is a quote behind that photo. I didn't really want to use the quote, but I wanted the paper. Then just used a paper bag. It's something that an order came in from my Hey Little Magpie order, so I decided that I might as well try and use that up. And again, just pulling a few other papers out here and just kind of distressing those edges. And as I said, trying not to fuss too much about getting the perfect rip. And as I said, I don't really have time for this normally, but I thought as this is going to be framed up on my wall, I wanted to try something that little bit different. I have this heart piece here, which actually was a Studio Calico Project Life. It came in all of like little chipboard hearts. I'd used all those chipboard hearts up, but I kept that bit because I really just loved how it looked, so I thought that's going to be perfect to use for a layout. And so this is my piece of craft cardstock. I did just use my white sort of pearlized ink just to paint a little bit of a border around here, because as I said, I knew that I wasn't going to be double mounting this. But I do like to have a bit of a border or something to it in case my layout in. As you know, I normally do mount my background paper on another piece of paper, but I decided to try it in a different way this time. Taking out my brayers. I haven't used my brayers recently, but of course using a plain piece of cardstock, of course I had to attack it with something, and so I'm just pulled out two of my Stampin' Up inks. One is Blushing Bride, I believe, and one is Calypso Coral, and of course they take on a darker look when used on craft cardstock. I then decided to use my grey Dilutions, which I'm trying to kind of use more and more, to just create this kind of scribbly border around the edge. I know that the Inspire collection had that kind of like grey kind of scripted letters and stuff, and I thought I may use some of that on there, even though I've covered the two bits up there. But I thought I'm just going to pull that out and use it. As I said, I'm trying to be more conscious and using that grey ink up. I want to add a little bit more texture onto the background here. And I've just pulled out my gesso. I'm just going to have to dry up my inking there a little bit because it hadn't quite dried and I didn't want to start adding wet on top of wet. So I've just pulled out my heat gun to do that. And as I said, I'm not too worried about building up kind of a bit of depth on this layout because I am going to use it in I think they're called easy mount frames. I had one that I got a long time ago off someone on like a selling group, and I really love it. It's a really nice lightweight frame, and it's the ones you just clip the front off and can pop your layout in. And then my friend Emma had another one that she was selling, so I picked that up as well because I thought it'd be perfect to use to put another layout in. And so I already had a layout in my other one, but I have decided to swap that out for some new layouts. And it's nice, you know, to actually have some of your layouts and stuff displayed and around because I don't get my albums out and look at them enough, to be honest. So I've just pulled out this doily stencil, and this is a Crafters Workshop one, and I'm just kind of used it to kind of squidge through some gesso, and then I have just kind of put it down the reverse side and kind of just smushed across it with the back of my spatula, just to kind of get the imprint of it. And as I said, I could have used an actual doily on here, but I thought no, add a little bit of texture in here. And as you know, I do use a slightly cheaper gesso, so I'm not too worried about just slathering it on there. And it dries quite well, really, so I could have used a modelling paste, but did decide against that. Or maybe I do use some modelling paste on this one, I can't remember. I've done a few layouts recently that I need to narrate, and I can't quite remember what one was what. But anyway, we'll watch and we will find out. Sorry, I could have cut these bits out, I know that. So I'm just look at this little cluster that I've sort of built there, and kind of seeing how it's kind of going to work on this layout. I'm going to go through this pad, and I like this piece. It's kind of like a cut apart piece that you kind of get in another, you know, these kind of 6x6 pads, because I presume this one is like taken from some of the cards you get in the Project Life pack. And there was this saying that I wanted to just use, which says I am in love with today, so I wanted to use that one. And then this one says just love with a little heart on. And in ripping this, I do make kind of a little bit of a too severe rip, but I decide to just go with it. So I'm going to add those on here, and I'm actually going to use that long one as part of my title. So I'm just going to kind of play about here where my different layers are going to go. And as I said, sorry guys, got a frog in my throat there. I want to add some colour to this layout, some glitz to this layout even, so I'm going to just use my gold here. This is not my Heidi Swap gold, this is my Do Crafts gold. This is a very, very slight difference to this. This one is slightly looser in texture, I'd say. So it kind of just depends whatever one I grab. I'm not really too fussed which one. But as I said, this one was just the first one I grabbed and decided I just wanted a little bit of glitz in that background. Even though I have that kind of pearlized metallic finish around the edge. So I'm just going to use my wet glue here just to stick these two layers down. Could have used my ATG, but my wet glue was handy. So I'm just going to be sticking down my layers here. I decided to just add a little bit of that mist over onto that background there. I like to do it because it kind of makes there is less stark kind of contrast between the backgrounds and the layers. I'm just going to use my heat gun just to dry that up. It's going to curl a little bit, but I'm going to be able to straighten that out. And as I said, as it's going to go in a frame, it's going to kind of be held down anyway. So now I'm going to start building my clusters up. So I know I wanted to use this piece. It's self-adhesive, so I've just pulled the adhesive off the back there. I want to use that little saying. And then I have some different bits and pieces left over from a few bits that Emma sent me. And they are from a Valentine themed collection. And as this is kind of like a lovey-dovey layout, I kind of can use some of those up as well. Some of the bits on there are really very generic, like you can see that little sort of wood grain tag with hearts on, that's easy to use. So I've got a few different bits and pieces here that I'm just going to kind of be tucking behind my layers, and just really kind of went to town with trying to use up sort of as many of these stickers as I can, because I love them, but as I said, I do quite a few layouts with me and my boyfriend, but they're not all kind of like lovey-dovey ones, where this was really just, there's not a story to this layout as such. It is just I wanted to make it as a frame, so it is really just decorating and using lots of product on this layout to kind of just look at and have it look pretty. So I'm just going to be pulling out lots of the different stickers here, the little word stickers, and tucking them around in the clusters. I'm also going to be pulling off that sort of flower design as well. Emma also sent me the chipboard, so I'm going to be using some of the chipboard pieces, and that does have gold in, so that's going to tie in quite well with that gold sort of mist I put in the background. And as that heart piece is chipboard, it kind of worked well to add a few more chipboard elements to here. And chipboard is something that I'm kind of learning to love. Emma sent me these chipboard pieces, and she's also sent me some other chipboard pieces, and I said it's not something I necessarily would have like jumped at straight away, but I've really enjoyed using these. So it's something I think when I'm looking at buying embellishments and bits in the future, I may look at. There's this kind of heart balloon piece that I kind of thought would be good to tuck in and sort of add a little layer, and I love that little geometric heart as well, and I sort of decided I'm going to just pull as many bits and pieces as I can off this chipboard sheet and use them up on this layout. And I said I like to just kind of pull bits out and kind of stick them on the layout and then kind of make that final decision about where I'm going to put things. I do just trim the tail down of that kind of heart balloon piece, just so I can tuck it behind that layers without adding too much bulk behind there, because I've already got that sort of chipboard piece. I've got these little arrows and things as well that I'm going to add. Again, that just adds another little bit of dimension around, and kind of want to share. I want to sort of space out the chipboard elements as much as I can, because of course then when I put it in the album, there's not going to be one part that's kind of more raised than the other, so it's not going to cause I know you'll always get an imprint on the other pages in your album, but I find if you kind of space out your dimensional elements, that it doesn't warp the album as much. I know that I always end up with kind of like the bottom corner and the top corners of my album kind of quite dimensional, because I tend to kind of cluster in the bottom right or the top left. I try to kind of every so often be really conscious that I'm doing that and do it at another point on the layout, but they're kind of like my two preferred spaces. As I said, this one is going in a frame to start with, but of course once I change up my frames it will go in an album. So all I've been doing as I was just chatting away there is just pulling off all these other little stickers and finding out any spaces here that just need to be filled with a little sticker design. There's little hearts, there's little word, sort of love word phrases and stuff like that. There is a few stickers left on the sheet which are Valentine's-y and say like Happy Valentine's or like 14, but that's fine. I will just sort of, eventually once I'm kind of used most of the stickers up on here, I will then just cut those sticker sheets up and just add it, put it in a little baggie and add it to my stash. I kind of do like to keep little theme bits. I've got like a bag of Halloween theme bits and pieces. I have, a big box of Christmas theme stuff, and then kind of very specific kind of Valentine's pieces. Again, I will just keep in another little baggie, because Valentine's is always going to be pink and sort of more feminine looking, isn't it? So it's not going to sort of date too much. I've pulled out these sequins. Again, I've had these sequins for quite a while, and I want to use them more, so you're going to see sequins on quite a few layouts. And again, I just pick out the gold sequins because I just want to bring some more of that gold out. And again, I'm just going to sprinkle those around the layout. And as you know, when you try and sprinkle something to make it look haphazard and just carefree sprinkle, you will spend hours and hours trying to make a sequin look accidentally placed there, like it's just been chucked down. But if you ever do just chuck them down in your layout, they never look right. So it's one of those ongoing battles that we have with trying to make things look random. So I just want to sprinkle it across, sort of in a diagonal kind of motion across the layout, just to kind of pull the eye down to the bottom cluster. As I said, and I really love these gold sequins. They're very, very shiny. And so I'm just going to place them down and then just use my wet glue just to stick those down. And I'm kind of sticking them over some of the three-dimensional layers as well as on just the background. And I really love how it looks. It kind of just ties everything in together, and with that gold misting in the background as well, again, just helps make everything pop. And then you forgot to add that little love piece in there. I decided to just add that over that heart layer. You can kind of still see it, the chipboard piece, but again it just filled in that weird little gap that I had there. But I probably was going to put a title in, but then I decided to use that other title piece. But overall I'm really happy with how it looked. And as I said, that Kiss Kiss collection and the Inspire collection actually worked really, really well together. So I'm just going to look here, and I decided it just wasn't quite working for me, and that I decided I did need to mount it, because it would look fine when it was in a frame, but when it went into my album, it just wasn't quite going to work for me. So I do just take my trimmer and just trim down all the sides, just so I can then mount it on this piece of paper. That is from the Pink Paisley Hey Girl collection. And I'm just going to mount that up. And I'm going to mount it up a little bit off centre. And I'm going to get a little bit Wilner-esque here, Wilner Fürstenberg. And kind of wrinkle up my edges. I said it's not something that I do a lot, but I decided as it was going in a frame I'd do it. And actually it doesn't end up showing too much, but it will show when it's in my album. So I do just place that off a little bit to one side, and then decide to just tear up the edges a little bit. Again, it's something a little bit different from me, but as I've kind of gone a little bit shabby chic, I thought I might as well go the full hog with it. So I'm just going to do a few little rips and tears there, and again it's just going to echo the sort of the rips and tears around the photo as well. I'm going to end up using my tiny chatcher there just to staple those kind of folds down, and I'm then just going to use it just on the bottom side there, just to make sure I've got it over sort of 3 different points on the layout. And this is my frame. Again, it's just one that clips in over the front, so I just thought I'd show you how it's going to look clipped into place, and I'm really happy with how it looks, and that's going to go mounted up on my wall. So I want to thank you very much guys for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon. Bye!